So let's start with this session. Overview of auditing subject, and we'll talk specific on professional standards and appointment of the auditor in this session. What is exam layout? Before cracking any exam, we must understand what is the exam layout. You have 4 subjects: financial, auditing, regulation, and business. Each has different hours and different structure of an exam. Auditing and attestation is 4-hour duration in the examination, and it consists of 90 MCQ questions and 7 task-based simulations. So 90 MCQ questions plus 7 task-based simulations for auditing examination. How these 90 questions are framed in this examination? You will have 3 multiple choice tastelets, means each has 30 questions. You have to solve first testlet, then you need to submit that testlet, then you can go for a second setlist. Means 30 questions at first go, you have to submit that 30 questions. After submission of this 30 questions, you would not have a chance to reopen it. Now, after submitting 30 questions first test list, then the second test list would open. Similarly, after submitting second test list, you will have a third test list. Now, out of this 90 questions, you have 15 MCQs which are pre-test questions. Means they are already asking CPA examinations. What is this? The pre-test questions are not graded in examination. Please note that in examination, if you feel that, oh, this is from Rigo's book or this is from XYZ books, then there are high chances that they are not graded in examination. They don't have points for it. So out of 90, you have 15 questions which are not graded. So there is no point of that 50 questions. But in examination, you will not be able to identify which are the 15 questions which are not graded. So for you have to attempt all 90 questions. Similarly, you have 7 task-based simulation. A task-based simulation is nothing but the the different ways of questions rather than the MCQ questions where you have 4 options. Like you can have filling the blanks, matching the box, or somewhere passing general entries or anything can be there. There is no specific rules of task-based simulation. They give you a task. For example, they give you by saying that how to do an audit, what are the steps of doing auditing under PCOB guidance. So you have certain filling the blanks or certain matching the box, or you need to select certain things. But yes, here you will not be using the keyboards. Most of 90% of these task-based simulation would be done through mouse itself. They would have the selection in that particular filling of the blanks or anything. They would have certain options available with you. You just need to select out of it. 7 simulations. Out of that, 1 simulation is pre-tested, means would not have been graded in the examination. So similar to 15 MCQ questions, 1 task-based simulation would not be graded in your result. So this is just like an option. So unfortunately, if you miss 1 simulation, and for a fortunate reason, if it is not graded in the examination, then you would have a great result. But Ultimately, in the examination, you would not be able to identify whether these 15 questions or one task-based simulations, whether it's a pre-tested or whether it's not graded or something like that. So you have to attempt all. So ultimately, what is the structure of the examination? 3 testlets for MCQ questions and 7 task-based simulations. And you have to complete all this stuff within 4 hours. And yes, passing grade is 75 points or percentile. So out of 100, you need to get 75. So this is major structure of an exam. Now, what are the topics? What are the weightage of each topic? The AICPA board every year provides the content details and also identifies the weightage around it. So this is coming out of that AICPA guidance itself. So auditing is divided into 6 broad criteria and they have given a tentative weight around it. First is engagement, acceptance, and understanding of an assignment. This is more like before you accept any auditing client, you do certain things. So it is weighted around 12 to 16%. Then you get the understanding of entities and its environment, more like internal control and risk assessment, would be graded around 16 to 20%. The third part would be the performing an audit procedures and evaluating evidence. Means this is more beyond the planning. You are doing the execution of the audit in this subject or say in this unit. Then evaluating findings, communication and reporting means under this more broad criteria, we need to understand different types of audit reports. The accounting review services, this is other than the auditing services. We will understand there are different types of services as an auditor or as a CPA you provide in the business. And last, professional responsibility. We already touch upon it. We already know the professional ethics of CPA, the code of ethics we already done in the regulation part. Yes, we'll repeat that part and we will correlate this with the auditing subject. So this is broad stuff, broad content with respect to audit and attestation services or attestation subject. I am just keeping few slides which highlights the detail of it. Why am I highlighting this? This is very important. I am creating my structure of sessions. You can easily visualize what I am gonna to discuss in auditing subject. Say I would start with this auditing, attestation, engagement, acceptance. That is what we are gonna to discuss today. We're gonna to discuss the professional standards. We're gonna to discuss the appointment, who makes the appointment, how the appointments of the auditors are done, what are the responsibility of an auditor during this acceptance of any new client or renewing any old clients. So this is first part, say more determining the natures and the scope of engagement in this section. So any new client comes, I discuss with him what is the scope, what is his expectations. I need to do any communication with the preceded auditors. There are certain rules on the PCOB and the SOX where we have to do certain communication with our previous auditors. So first point would be talking about this, and these have a weight of 12 to 16%. So around, when I say 100 questions, there are possibility that 12 to 16 questions will be coming from this unit of an audit subject. So in this major part is anything you do before any acceptance of a new client or renewing old client. Second topic would be like determining materiality, consideration of a fraud, assessment of a risk, determining internal control. I would say this is very important topic. Very important topic with respect to internal control, with respect to risk assessment, with respect to consideration of a fraud. So these 3 important words. In every lecture, you will hear this three words every time: the fraud, internal control, and risk assessment. Anytime and whatever the subtopics we are discussing, you would hear these terms so many times from me that we are doing for this internal control, we are doing this for risk assessment, because of the risk, we are doing this or that. So this is more fundamental unit for our auditing subject. The sub-unit is performing audit procedures and evaluating evidence. So based on sub-unit 2, we understand what my risk, what my internal control. Just for example, if the risk ISA is so high, means I say that the auditing risk is so high with respect to this client, then what I would do? I increase my audit procedures. Rather doing 20% of an audit or test check audit, I would go for 100% substantive testing. So this is what is the impact of unit 2. So in this third unit, we will understand the performing audit procedures and evaluating the evidence. So whatever the evidence we collect, we will evaluate whether it gives me sufficient ground to say that the company is doing great work, or it gives me certain things which I doubt that the company is not doing in a right manner. The fourth unit, it's all about reporting, performing analytical procedures. We would have three important words in auditing. First, analytical procedures. Second, taste of detail or substantive taste. And third word, taste of control. Three important ones: analytical procedures, taste of details, and taste of control. Very important words. But we'll see what are the difference between these three, and we will understand what are things associated with this analytical procedures, substantive taste, or taste of control, and what is benefit behind it. Then there are different types of reports we create as an auditor. When we say the company is doing excellent thing, then we generally say as a clear opinion. There would be qualified opinion, there would be adverse opinion, and there would be disclaimer of it. We'll understand what are the possibilities under which we can give a different kind of opinions. And based on these opinions, we need to draft an audit report. So this section or unit 4 is more towards the drafting the audit reports and communicating to the proper person or to the proper management. So we'll understand that part in this. The evaluating audit findings, communications and reporting under this subunit 4. Then the last one, professional responsibility. We already understood the code of professional conduct under AICPA. Here, in addition to the code of ethics, we need to understand the specific requirement of PCOB and SOX. The more specific Title 2 and Title 3 and Section 303, which is more towards the assessment of internal control and peer reviews and all that stuff. Then certain specific requirements of government auditing, more with respect to government account offices. We'll see in a subsequent slide what are these terms, what are the standards and all that stuff. And last, we will also see quality control standards, which are more expected from each CPA. We need to follow certain quality control standards. We need to give highest quality of our work. So there are certain quality control standards under this professional responsibility unit. So overall, this is what subject of auditing. So what we understood? We understood the auditing subject, which highlights the 4 R of examination with respect to 3 test slits on MCQs and 7 simulations. We understood the topic. The topic covers what? The topics cover, it starts from gathering the or getting the understanding of an client in taking a new engagement or renewing the old engagement. Then we thought about second step would be doing audit plannings. Third step would be performing an auditing. Fourth step would be providing reports. And the last miscellaneous unit is professional responsibility. So this is what the whole subject of auditing. Any questions till this point? Anybody wants any clarifications? What these simulations and anything? Hopefully you would be more aware about now, because when you join CPA, you all would already have done this analysis. So anything on any questions, please let me know. And anytime, please feel free that to stop me if my speed is slightly fast. So please feel free to stop me at any time. Okay, so let's start with the professional standards. Let's understand different terminology, which are very much important when we understand this auditing subject. So I'm just giving the professional standards hierarchy, what are the important standards and all. So we will understand. Say in FAR you would be getting understanding of GAAP, means US GAAP. In this you would be getting understanding of GAS. GAS means generally accepted auditing standards, and GAAP means generally accepted accounting standards. So GAAP and GAS. So we will talk about GAS in this auditing subject. So this is main source of literature. But yes, different things are available. Different services are available in this auditing. Or say when you say assurance services. So assurance has different wings. It has a different kind of services. We will understood today. So let's understand few things before we think on the auditing subject. What are professional standards? First is with respect to auditing standard, which is we say GAS. GAAS, GAS. Other than auditing standards, different bunch of literature is available with respect to different services. As a CPA, we don't only provide auditing services. There are big bunch of services we can provide. So anytime any student joins, he or she generally ask about this, whether I need license, whether I should go for a license or not. Every time I say there are different services available as an CPA. So there is no need to get a license unless and otherwise you want to sign audit report. So only one services, that is called auditing, where you need a license. For other services, no, you don't need any license. You can provide your services, just like what I am doing. Being a CPA, I don't have a license. Still, I am providing various technical services with respect to US GAAP or US GAS. You'll understand that bunch of services and you will feel like, okay, I have different kind of services. So, yep, being CPA, I have a good scope in a market. So let's understand the auditing standards. What are the authority of organizations which issues this auditing standards? So these are the guys who comes out with this auditing literature. First one, PCOAB. We already understood this term in regulations. The Public Company Accounting Oversight Board. These are the guys who gives the auditing, attestation, quality control, independence rules, and even ethical standards for the audits of public company. That is quite interesting. The PCOAB provides all technical literature with respect to public companies, not for the private companies. So indirectly, any guidance which are issued by PCOB board, then it would only apply to public company. Private companies are not responsible to follow the PCOB guidance. So PCOB provide everything: auditing, attestation, quality control, independence, ethical standards, all that the bunch of standards for public company audits are provided by PCOB board. Then what for private companies? Who are the guys who issues the literature for private companies? AICPA board, where they have a specific board called Accounting Standard Board or say Auditing Standard Board. The American Institute of Certified Public Accountant issues the auditing, attestation, quality control, and independence and ethical accounting and review standards for the engagement involving non-public companies. So these are the people who issues the standards which are more relevant with respect to private organizations. So every private organization has to follow these standards. But practically, PCOB standard includes the AICPA's guidance as well as they made the certain stringent rules for public limited companies because they do have heavy interest or say public interest. So they have more detailed informations with respect to public audits, public services, public company services. AICPA provides the literatures for private companies. And the last, the State Board of Accountancy, which issues the license to CPAs and CPA firms to practice in that jurisdiction. So this is the relevant questions. So many people ask which state I would select for my CPA examination. As always we say, if you have a planning to get a license, then the state selection has its own importance. If you are not planning for license, then any state you select would have the similar impact in your career. Because state board is the only authority who issues the license to CPA and CPA firm to do practice. Yes, there are various states where you have you need a social security numbers. That is the reason we advise the states where you don't need the social security number when you apply for your license. So there are lots of states available. Say, if I remember correctly, the Colorado is a good state where you don't need SSN number. Yes, there are say bunch of information available. The state main. So I would say there's only 20 to 30% states which require SSN number. If you have a master's with you, then there is no problem. The SOINI team would be able to identify you for a proper state. So only thing, just for my side, an additional advice I would give, with respect to state board selections, please make sure two things. First, as already identified by Dinesh, you need SSN number. So don't select that states where you need SSN number to get a license. And there are certain states which requires compulsory applications for getting the license. So there are states which requires that after clearance of your CP examination within 2 or 3 years you have to apply for a license. So please don't select that states. Before you select that state, please make sure that these two conditions are not there. We have an option, so the option is always good. So don't go for such states where it is compulsory for you to apply for a license to maintain your CPA qualification. So anytime you want any help, I will able to help you out. Or Suini had a good information with her. So before selecting any state, please make sure that you are having all information with you. Yeah, most probably because I am a guy from a Colorado state, so 100% that I would not select that states where I need a license or I need SSN number where I need to get a license. So I don't have. I remember that Colorado states has no SSN number requirement. But yes, please make sure the rules are changing so fast. So I'm slightly not confident by saying that it is 100%. Yes, 99% there is no requirement on SSN number. But yes, for a 1% give me benefit of a doubt because rules are so changing fast. So every states are moving so fast and changing the rules. So anytime you make a selection, you just make sure that you are not selecting any states. So I went for US. There were no option available with us. And also, I just want to make sure you understand the selection of international location for your examination. There is a good clause. You must understand that when you appear from international location that is other than US, like Kuwait or Oman or Dubai, you have to go for license within 3 years or time, or says there is a specific timeline. So when you are appearing from Kuwait or anywhere, you have to go for a license. So there is a clause attached to it. So generally, I would advise the guys to go for US because from a cost perspective, if anybody from traveling from India, they would have a similar cost because examination fees are high in international location, almost by $1,000+. So I generally advise anybody coming from India say, yeah, BG, there is no problem at all for you because you are in US and they will accept you. So there is no issue at all from your end. So it's very simple for you. Go and give an exam and get the CPA qualification as well as you are having bright chances to get a license. Yeah, surely we'll take that. Say, send me your qualifications. Say, before I make any comment on state selection, you just reach out to Soini because he has a bunch of list of qualification identified and easy way of getting state selection. So reach out to Soini and she will help you out. If she is not able to help you out, just drop me email. I will help you out with the state selection. Okay, guys. So this is what authority of organizations. These are three people. These are the three major guys who issues or controls our career or they choose various literatures where we need to follow in our practice. There are some other authorities are also there. We'll see, but these are three important ones. So let's have slightly more detailed looks on these three bodies, what they are doing, what they are issuing. So this is good summary on the regulation side on these three bodies, what they are doing. As you can see in this table, this is for public companies and this is for non-public companies. As I said, PCOB board issues the standards which are more relevant for public companies and AICPA board issues the standards and guidance for private companies or non-public companies. State board gives license. They are the authority who gives the license to CPA and CPA firm. AICP and PCOB board has no authority to issue the license or even they cannot cancel your license or even they cannot suspend your license. This is all authority lies with State Board of Accountancy. Just quickly run through these slides. If you think any, say already I have clarified everything. An important point is public, non-public, who issues any standards and who issues for what. That's it. So these are the people who issues various regulations for CPAs. Now, this is, you would have heard about this term, that auditor is responsible for carrying out the audit as per the auditing standards. The auditing standard would refer different terminology in different environment. As I said, gas, this is nothing but generally accepted assurance standards which are issued by AICPA board and which is outlined in section AU of AICPA professional standard. AU means auditing. It stands for auditing. So this is a source for you. The gas would be available or referred as a section AU 100, AU 200, AU 202. So this is what sections or the standard codification name. Just like in FAR, we have ASC, accounting standard codification with XX amount. Then we refer that particular standard. In gas, we refer as section AU, means section auditing 202 or 205 XYZ. GAGAS means GAGAS, means these are the assurance standards for government companies. So we would have a separate topic on auditing on government companies, auditing on non-profit organizations, where we will learn the principle of GAGAS. It called as GAGAS. GAGAS. And for public companies, we follow PCOB standard. That is clear? Three important standards: gas, GAGAS, and PCOB standards. So ultimately, what is an umbrella of auditing standard? The umbrella is three important umbrella. AU, which is previously called as SAS, the Statement on Assurance Standards. Now it is clarified as Section AU. We'll learn what is history of this clarification and all in a subsequent slide, which will help you to understand what I am talking right now. And gas, which is more previously known as SAS. Now, second standard is PCOB standards for issuers, and third, GAGAS for government auditing standards. So this is three big different standards in one umbrella of auditing standard. So when you are doing government auditing, then you need to follow GAGAS. When you are doing audit of public companies, then you need to follow PCOB standards. When you are doing audit of private companies, then you need to follow GAS of AICPA board. That's it. This is what umbrella of auditing standard. So let's understand this term. Let's understand SAS, SAS or gas. Yes, in past it was SAS. Now it is gas. What is this gas? Generally accepted auditing standard or gas are the set of standards against which the quality of audit are performed and may be managed. Dinesh, I come to your point in the subsequent slide. I just written clarified SAS just for your comparison. Yes, it is generally in a world, we still in a practice we say clarified SAS just to refer to our clients, like they are having very much old mindset. So generally in a practice we refer them as a clarified SAS, but yes, technically it's not SAS, it is technically section AU, auditing sections, which we'll see which are different type of auditing sections in this slide itself. So what was I was referring? What is gas? The gas is nothing but generally accepted auditing standards against which the quality of an audit are performed and may be judged. So these are our fundamental rules which we are required to follow when we are doing audits. Generally, it is issued by Accounting Standard Board Auditing Standard Board, which is the division of American Institute of Certified Public Accountant. So they are the people who issues this Yes, PCOB issues their own standards for public companies, but this is in addition to PCOB standards. Now let's understand. AU means section AU, like 150. Now when I say standard 150 or assurance standard 150 means AU section 150 states there are 10 standards. These are fundamental standards, not that specific standard of 102 or internal control standards, but these are fundamental standards which are highlighted, or I would say rather saying a 10 standard, a 10 principle based under which there are different assurance standards are created. So section 150 highlights this. Now, very odd point to note here that before 2014, this was very much relevant for your CPA examination. Now, this is not much relevant. Still, I am gonna to explain you just because if you go in a practice, this is still more relevant. This is more relevant with respect to understanding, more relevant with respect to any interview questions, more relevant with respect to making people aware that you understand what the auditing standard is and what are the 10 important principles. Yes, for examination perspective, you are not gonna to get this. Yeah, but for your practical life, yes, it's still relevant with respect to our discussion with the clients and all. However, in 2012, the Clarity project, that is why I am saying the Clarity, which was like Clarity SHAS. In 2012, the Clarity project significantly revised the standards, means this gas, and replaced by AU section 150 with AU section 200, means 150 was replaced by AU 200, which does not explicitly discuss this 10 standards. So now practically there are no specific 10 principles, but in past examination some questions were asked on this, so I'm just highlighting for you. But yes, there are highly chances that now in 2000, after 2015, you are not able to get any question on this. This is just for your information. So what are these standards? So I said there are three standards on which are called as general standards. Let me take you for back. So what I'm talking right now, I'm gonna to talk in subsequent 2-3 slides. I'm gonna to talk this three. So there were 10 principles. Let's make it very simple. I say 10 principles. Three principles which are more with respect to my general standards, which more highlights the general understanding when being an auditor, what you do. Then it also highlights three fieldwork principles. Fieldwork standards means three principles you follow when you do an auditing, when you do actual performance of an audit. And four reporting standards means four principles you need to follow when you prepare your audit report. So let's discuss that and highlight that what this 10 principle means. General standards. I would say TIP. TIP. It means TIP. First is the auditor must have adequate T means technical training and proficiency to perform an audit. Yes, this is more basic expectations, more general expectation from any CPA or any auditor when they perform any auditing. So this is you have to have adequate technical training and proficiencies. Second, you must have independence. Independence in mental attitude in all matters related to audit. We know all rules of independence. We already discussed in regulation. So at time of regulation, if you remember, I said you need independence with respect to audit and attestation services. I said for review and compilation, you don't need independence. So this is one of the things, one of the general standards which requires the independence when you are doing an auditing. Third, TIP means TIP. P stand for professional care. The auditor must exercise due professional care during the performance of the audit and the preparation of report. This is your general expectation. These are three important expectations when you do any auditing. So I generally call it TIP. TIP. T means technical training and proficiency. I stands for independence, and P stands for professional care. Now, another principles. The standards of field work means what are principles you follow when you are doing actual audit. Auditor must adequately plan the work and properly supervise any assistance. So you have to make proper planning when you do actual audit. And as well as you need to supervise any assistants which are working under you. Might be articles, might be subordinates or anything. Then you need to have understanding of your entity. Obviously, when you are doing any audit, you need to have understanding of entity's business, its internal control, its risk assessments with respect to financial statement as well as with respect to fraud and errors. And you need to determine nature, timing, and extent of further audit procedures. At what level you want to do it, at what time you want to do an audit, and what kind of audit you want to do it. Whether test check, whether full checking, whether at the year end, whether at the interim periods, all decisions you take under this. Auditor must assign the qualified person to the engagement. I have bifurcated this point. Ultimately, there are only three principles, but just for your information or just to make more emphasis on this, I have segregated this point on this field of work, standard on a field of work. So, right person has to do a right job. When I'm a good at accounting standard, then I should go do the gap reviews, not the gas reviews. That is what I want to highlight in this principle. And the last one, must obtain the sufficient and appropriate. A sufficient means in terms of quantity. Appropriate means in terms of quality. So I need good quality and good quantity audit evidence to form my opinion. During this my work, I will gather the audit evidence. So generally I would call it PUPE, means PUPA. Plan the work, understand the client, personal, proper personal, and E, evidence, the audit evidence, sufficient and appropriate audit evidence. So this is called standard of field work. And last section called standard of reporting, which says your financial statement has to be in accordance with respect to GAAP. We'll see in audit report, we will understand what is GAAP, what is the reference of GAAP in audit report, what are the references for gas in audit report. So first I need what? GAAP compliance when I'm doing reporting, when I'm preparing my audit report. Then I need to see the principles are followed consistently or not. Then informative disclosures are adequately disclosed or not. So all disclosures under GAAP and GAS are disclosed or not, whether all principles followed consistently or not. And last, whatever evidence I have got and whatever the understanding I got through my auditing, I need to form an audit opinion. There are different kinds of opinion available, but we'll see in a later slides. So this is what I call GCDO, means you need to follow GAAP, the principle has to follow consistently, proper disclosures has to be made, and last you need to give an opinion. This is whole life cycle of an auditing. So starting from TEEP to PUF and to GCDO, it's whole umbrella of an auditing. So starting, I am doing everything from TEEP to GCDO. So this is what 10 principle or standard highlighted in EU section 150 earlier. Now, it is not specifically given in standard, but yes, in practically or in practice, all other standards or whole audit is done under this principle only. So if you depart with any principle, then your auditing is not adequate, then there is a problem with your audit. So this is 10 principle tip of GCDO. Now, just for your knowledge, I just want to highlight what is Clarity Project. When I say Clarity SaaS or Section AU, I am referring this Clarity Project. So these standards are created in say almost so many years back. So every time AICPA board, PCOB board feels that okay, we need update on it, we need a change on it. Based on that, auditing standard board has set together and thought in the past, now we need a drastic change in our auditing standard. And they came out with the Clarity Project. What is this? The Auditing Standard Board has subsequently completed US gas with ISA. What is this ISA now? This is nothing but International Standard on Assurance. Similar to GAAP, US GAAP, you have IFRS. Similar to US gas, you have what? ISA. In your examination, you are supposed to learn ISA also. You need to learn International Standard on Assurance. So what we will do, say in each topic, I would highlight the difference between ISA and US gas. So whenever say I highlight the difference, then you have to remember that difference because they can taste the inequations on ISA also. So it is very important. Yeah, the expectation is that you understand basic thing of an ISA. Not they are not expecting that you have a technical skills or advanced level of knowledge is not expected from you under the ISA tree. Yes, US gas is required to understand, and we will highlight the difference between US gas versus ISA as and when it is required. So, ASB sat together and clarified the project. The main intention of Clarity project was to make sure that we remove various difference between US gas and ISA. So in 2007, the Clarity drafting conventions were developed and are being applied to all standards issued by ASB after 2008. All EU sections in EICPA professional standards have been clarified, with exception of AU section 322. It's still in a process, but yes, recently, a few months back, everything is clarified now. But for your examination, just for your information, so they have cleared all or say clarified all that previous assurance standards. Now they referred as AU sections. What are this? And you will find AUC means auditing clarity standard or clarified standard. C stands for clarity, and this will be only for temporary purpose. Say in a subsequent time, the AICPA board would clarify that and remove that C from the header of any particular assurance standard. They will remove. This is C is only for temporary purpose, just to make sure that people understand that this AU is clarified. So there are almost 47 AU sections which are effective as of now. This is not for your exam. The examination will not gonna to ask what are the number of EU clarified, what are not clarified. This is just for examination. It's just for your understanding purpose. So there are almost 47 clarified in a different years. So this EU is now applicable in your exam. So we'll understand all rules which are defined in this AU sections. So we are not gonna to discuss old SAS. We are gonna to discuss the new provisions which are highlighted in auditing sections, means AU sections. And further, you are not supposed to remember all terms like EU 107, 117 or anything. It is not expected that you remember these sections of standards. So that was clarity project. Now for us, just like codification ESC, codification in FAR, now for us, AU sections are in auditing standard. So this how this would be available in your EICPA site. You can get this all auditing standards from EICPA board. It's freely available, so you can download. Now you can see they already referred or say have already cross cross clarified with respect to old SAS with respect to new SAS. So you can have a cross references like old SAS 111 is having this professional sections. This is all clarified in different sections. So 122 is divided in all sections and clarified in different AU sections. So you can download if you want. But yes, I would try to cover everything from this. So it's fine. And this is not expected in CPA examination. You understand whole terms and literature of all that sections, because this, if I think from a standard, this would be around more than 5,000 pages. The approximation would be more than 5,000 pages. So it's not something like you remember all 5,000 pages to clear your CPA examination. Out of this, only you have 3 units, means 60% of the points would be graded from this section. So no worries, you are not supposed to remember whole 5,000 pages to get your 60 points. Now let's understand other terminology in auditing standards. So this is just to how to interpret the particular standards. See, if any time, this is just for your information, nothing from exam perspective. If anything say must, is required or shall, then the auditor must fulfill that responsibility. Similarly, should and might, could, and all that stuff. This is just for your understanding how to interpret that particular word when it is used in that particular standard. So it defines your unconditional responsibility. It defines your responsibility to consider and all that stuff. So this is what different terminologies are used and how to interpret that particular terminology. And we understood gas now. Now what we are going to discuss? We understood gas. We understood EU sections. Now, other than gas or auditing standard, I would say auditing standard, you have different standards for different services. What are this? This is your auditing subject. This is your different types of services. We already learned. Say, I already highlighted when we are discussing, say, AICPA code and regulations. We provide, as a CPA, we provide different services. What are these services? We provide accounting services. We make compilations of books of accounts. We provide compilation services. Here I don't give opinion. Here I don't need independence. We provide review services where we give negative opinion. We'll understand all these terms. Just I'm highlighting and creating a background for you. We give audit and attestation services where what you give opinions. So this is highest level of services where you need to do lots of work. You need to follow all standards in detail because you give opinion here. And then advisory services, anything on accounting advisories, assurance advisories. So if anybody has any background in Big Four, you will have different department which says assurance services. FAS means financial advisory services. Anything can be included in that. Capital market, IT advisories, anything. Then compilation, accounting services, different department for auditing. All that branch of CPA services having different departments. So all that services would have a different standards to follow it. So we call it as other than auditing standard. For review services, we have statements on standard for accounting and review services. For attestation services, we have specific standard on attestation engagement. Don't worry, I will understand every terminology in detail when we'll discuss the respective standards. And the last bunch of other standards or other codes or regulation we will need to follow when we are providing any kind of services, just like EICPA code of conduct, SEC regulations, quality control standards, Sarbanes-Oxley Act, SOX Act 2002, different titles in it. As just for your understanding, we have discussed the independence rules from each of these different regulations. So as an auditor, you need to follow all that rule to become independent. So all that particular different standards or different regulation would impact your services. So these are all other standards. Okay, let's take a 5 minutes break. I don't mind. Then we will discuss the gas hierarchy. Guys, can we start? Okay. So till this point, we understood. We understood what are the professional authorities and the professional standards. Now, as I say, there are different authorities. They issues different standards. So there are possibility that, just for example, independence. Different authorities has issued the different standards. They have a same points, and even they have a difference of a point. So which standard you apply first, and which standard you applied on a last side. So this is called gas hierarchy. You have to follow that hierarchy and you have to apply that standards. For example, AICPA board issues the standard on internal control. Now, for example, PCOB also issues that internal control standard. EICPA also gives the clarification, interpretation to that. It also issued the Q&A session or Q&A topic on that internal control. Now, what particular standard do you apply first? Whether you apply Q&A first, whether you applied any interpretation first, whether you apply any standard. This is what this gas hierarchy help us. This gas hierarchy we need to follow in this case. There are three levels of auditing guidance. Now please note, while in ISA means International Standard on Assurance, there is only one category of standards that require the auditor to comply with the requirement. Indirectly, this is ISA. ISA is the only one literature available in the market in international auditing standard. So there is no point of discussing hierarchy. So there is no hierarchy, so we are fine. So ISA, they don't have hierarchy. For other standards, like now you have three level of auditing standards. So we need to follow these steps. Three level. First, the main standard, old SAS, or I would say now AU sections, which are issued by AICPA board and PCOB standards. So these are the main literatures, main standards. That is called first level. Then there are certain interpretive publication with respect to my AICPA or PCOB standards. And third level would be other auditing publications. So now what are all these items? The As I said, for issuer you have to follow PCOB standards. For non-issuers you have to follow SAS or I would say AU sections. So anything written over there you have to follow that first. The interpretive publications are recommendations regarding how auditing standards should be applied. It can be interpretations, it can be exhibits, it can be guides. So when you refer AICPA site, if you search a guides, you will find lots of guides with respect to lots of subjects. So whatever it says means say what would be the benefit of this. Now say for example PCOB standard says this is more hypothetical example. Say PCOB standard says the auditor has to be independent while doing an audit. Say just hypothetically, if any interpretation or guide with respect to independence says you don't require independence when you are doing audit of public company. Now there is a conflict. Now which standard or which interpretation you will follow first? Yes, this hierarchy says you have to follow PCOB standard. So it means if as a first step you need to go and refer the PCOB standards. Now PCOB standard says you need an independence for doing audit of public company, then you have to have the independence even though guide or interpretation has different terminology or different rules for it. So this is the help of hierarchy. Last, it includes the articles CPA letters, education materials, or textbooks. So, Rigo's books is the last option. So, anything written by Rigo's, you cannot say, no, Rigo is saying this, I would follow Rigo first. I would not follow the auditing standards. Not possible. You have a specific hierarchy, so you need to follow that hierarchy of literature. So this is what gas hierarchy. Please note that it's possible that one or two questions can come if they want to taste anything with respect to professional standard or gas hierarchy. So please remember the education letters and all that are the last option. You don't refer to them till the point you have any information available in PCOB standard or AICPA standard. So these are three levels of hierarchy. Now let's understand basic audit things. This is what the objective of an auditor. The auditor's objective is to obtain the reasonable assurance about whether financial statements as a whole are free from a material misstatement and fraud, so as to give the comments on fair presentation of financial statement. This is whole your objective, to provide or to give sufficient or to perform the objective. You do everything. You perform audit, you plan audit, you gather the evidence and all that stuff. But the underlying reason of doing audit is to give reasonable assurance or give reasonable opinion that your financial statements are free from material misstatement and fraud. To report on financial statement and communicate as required by GAS based on auditor's finding. So these are two important objectives of any auditor who is doing an audit. The conduct of an audit. As I highlighted in 10 principles, now this new section, AU section, highlight these principles, which is nothing but more or less what we discussed in that 10 principle. So it says the general requirement with respect to audit includes the professional skepticism, means auditors should neither assume that management is dishonest or nor assume unquestioned honesty, means you should not be biased by saying that no, management is always dishonest, or even you should not say that management is always honest. So it has to be professional skepticism, a belief that management is honest and has integrity does not relieve auditor of the need to maintain the professional skepticism. Yes, you should be skeptical that, yeah, there is a possibility that he or the management may not be honest or may be honest. It depends on a situation. So you be skeptical, but you don't always assume that the management is dishonest, or you don't always assume that the management is always honest. Ethical requirements. Yes, you have to be independent in both fact and appearance. Already we discussed this in regulation. Professional judgment. You need to make all professional judgments with respect to materiality, audit risk, and NTA. NTE, this is very much familiar acronym in practice. NTE stands for N stands for nature, T stands for timing, and E stands for extent. Nature, timing, and extent of procedure. So if you decide you need to be professional judgment. You need to take a professional judgment when you are deciding the timing of audit. You're deciding the extent of an audit. You're deciding nature of an audit. Then you have to get the sufficient appropriate evidence. Yes, to form an opinion, you need proof. This is your proof whether you have done the audit or not. And you need to comply with your generally accepted assurance standard. GAS does not override the law or regulations that govern the audit of financial statement. That is very important. Like standard from PCOB, ISAS or GAS, the GAS does not override them. So anything on PCOB side, if you are doing audit of public company, then you need to follow PCOB standard in case of there is a conflict between GAS and PCOB, because GAS does not override the law or regulations. So this is what basic stuffs on audit. Now, what are types of reports available? Mainly four types. Unqualified report means everything is excellent. You don't have anything to highlight or to give explanation in your audit report. So everything is good. Second opinion is unqualified or say clear report with explanatory language. Means there are some problem, but these problems are small. It doesn't say that the management is not doing its job. So you give explanations like in case of inconsistency in accounting principle, you just add the paragraph in your audit report by saying that in this case the management is not following consistent principle. But even if not following, there is no material impact of doing it. We'll understand each report. We'll understand how to draft this report. What are the rules or regulations available with respect to particular situation. But this is just to highlight as of now. Just to understand what we are going to discuss when we are discussing audit reports. Then second main opinion comes qualified opinion. If anything, any departure from a gap. Adverse opinion means there is a significant departure of a gap. And disclaimer of opinion means you are not able to get the evidence, so you are saying that I am not in a position of making any opinion. That's it called various types of audit reports. So this is what about basic things of an audit. What would be the subject and all that stuff. Say what we would discuss, how I'm gonna to take this subject. As I say, we already understand this. These are different scopes available under our subject. So we'll understand all these codifications. So these are the broad category of codification. I will make sure that every important principles under these codifications are covered in our topics. So these are the list. It starts from 200 to 999 codification. So different codifications start from general principles, responsibility, risk assessment and response to assess risk, audit evidence, using the work of others, audit conclusions and reporting, special considerations and special consideration in the United States. So all this topic we're gonna to discuss in our subsequent sessions. But how I am planning it? I will create a scenario by dividing this scenario in four parts. I'll discuss first what are the rules and standards available before you accept any auditing standard. So what are things you need to consider before accepting new client or renewing the old clients? What are your responsibility as an auditor? Then we'll discuss about planning of an audit. So we'll see what are the planning, what are the internal control points you need to make sure, how to assess the audit risk, what are the IT system impact when you are planning your audit. So we'll consider that part in a second topic. Then third series of session would be on performing an audit test. Here you will find lots of information from me. We'll discuss this audit test from all business cycles. This will help you in your current service also, because I'm gonna to slightly go ahead and change the topic from Rigo's book. We'll discuss each cycles, each transaction cycles, revenue cycle, expenditure cycle, investment cycle, fixed asset cycle. Yes, surely this will take lots of time, but yes, after this session you will be champ on audit, and you will be in a position to solve your papers and understand your audit process even in your current career. And last, we'll discuss about different types of reports. Already we have seen the different types of opinion, but this is one set of report. But there are different reports, just like we said, we have a review services, we have a compilation services, we have a testation services. So there are different reports, different permutation combinations available in this. So we'll discuss each reports and their finance over there. So this is the way I'm gonna to go.